The Honda Civic Type R has been out for around 2 years now, and despite this I still think it's the best hot hatch money can buy in the new car market. In fact, when I first drove it I described Honda's latest version of its fast hatchback as Japanese witchcraft, a comment I still stand by. What is it that makes the FK8 so good though? Well, for me it all starts on the inside.
Yes, I know the exterior is a big talking point, but I will get onto that a little bit later. What I really want to talk about though is the interior. As soon as you open the door, you're greeted by these loud and proud red and black sports seats, which may as well scream, I am a performance car! And what I love about them is, step inside and drop yourself in. I mean drop. Drop yourself into these seats and they are low slung, and it really feels like you're driving a sports car, unlike the Ford Focus RS, which, no offence, does feel more like an SUV. These alone should be an indicator of what is to come. But what exactly is that? Well, thanks to a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder VTEC petrol engine, that means 320 horsepower with 400 Newton meters of torque. This power is mated to the front wheels via a 6-speed manual gearbox, so there's no 4-wheel drive system to be had here and no automatic gearbox. Let me talk you through some performance stats. So this car will hit 62 miles per hour in 5.8 seconds and continue to a top speed of 169. 169 in a Honda Civic? No, that is sheer lunacy.
5.8 seconds? Pah! That's miles behind the Focus RS, the Golf R and the new A35. Yes, that is true, but there's two areas where the Type R claws back a few performance points. The first of which is weight. The A35 AMG weighs a respectable 1,480 kilograms, the Golf R is a bit more at 1,535 kilograms, whilst the Focus RS has clearly had too many pies as it weighs in at almost 1,600 kilograms. Oh dear. The Civic Type R, well, that weighs 1,420 kilograms, meaning it's lighter than its rivals thanks to the omission of all-wheel drive.
The second area is downforce. Yes, I know the outside design is busier than Piccadilly Circus, but there is a reason for it. Honda is insistent it is all functional. Well, I'm not really too sure about these mock vents on the back, but anyway, I shall look past them. This rear ring, which you simply cannot ignore, it's not here just to please boy racers. This does have a genuine function. It's here to provide proper downforce, and you've also got vortex generators at the top of the tailgate. That may sound like the result of science fiction, but what their job is to channel air towards this massive rear ring, which frankly would make an airplane jealous, to give the car proper downforce. As a result, this car generates positive downforce, unlike other cars in its class. So other cars in its class, they provide enough downforce to negate the amount of lift generated at speed, whereas the Type R actually generates positive downforce. So on a track, this car becomes even stickier. Good work, Honda. Good work.
It's little wonder then that the Type R managed to get around the Nürburgring in 7 minutes 43 seconds, which at the time of this recording is the fastest front-wheel drive car to go around the Green Hell. This then is a touring car for the road.
Yes, it certainly feels like one. Yes, okay, it isn't quite as fast as some of its rivals to 62 miles per hour, but when you put your foot down, are you likely to notice? No, I don't think so. For what it's worth, there is a bit of turbo lag, but it's not quite as bad as its predecessor, the FK2. And what I like about the FK8 compared to its predecessor is just how usable this car is. Unlike the last car, this model has got a comfort driving mode. So this car will be easier to live with on a day-to-day basis. However, even when you have it in Sport or Plus R mode, the ride is still pretty agreeable. If you put the FK2 into Plus R mode, well, I'm afraid you'll be picking your teeth out of the footwell and your spine would disintegrate, because yes, that car was a real bone shaker. It wasn't very forgiving. The FK2 in comparison kind of feels like going down a set of stairs on an office chair in regards to its ride. Whereas this car, even when you've got it dialed up to 11, it's not setting out to ruin your spine. It may ruin your driving license, but your spine should stay pretty intact. This car, its default drive mode is Sport, but when you put it into Plus R mode, yes, of course, the dampers become firmer. This car does have adaptive suspension, and the car becomes tauter and more rigid, but this car is far from a bone shaker, and the grip it has is second to none. However, you do of course have a comfort mode, and that softens everything. The engine becomes less responsive, the steering becomes lighter, and you'd almost be tricked into thinking you're driving a standard Honda Civic, because it does its job very well. Yes, there is still a bit of a firm edge to the ride, but it's really compliant. I wouldn't go so far to call it supple, however, it does soak up the bumps very nicely. And it turns the Type R into a different beast altogether. This car may be front wheel drive, but I've got a very good differential at the front, which really helps to pull the car round. Now I've just hit a pothole in Plus R mode, and my back is still okay. And I think that's fantastic engineering from Honda to make a car like this. You can really have your cake and eat it, because you've got all of that performance, but you can still use it day to day. You can drive this to the racetrack and then drive it to Tesco. The car is responsive, the steering is direct, the car feels direct. You just turn the steering wheel and the rest really feels like intuition. As you would expect, the Plus R mode puts the engine into maximum attack, the steering becomes heavier. Now, some have said that the steering in Plus R mode is too heavy. No, I don't think so. I think those people need to get down to the gym. Granted, it does have a nice meaty weight to it, but I think it's fine. However, I do admit, I do like my steering to be heavy, so maybe I'm not the best judge. But to me, the steering, it feels simply delicious. Another area of this car that is simply delectable is the way in which it tackles corners. Because despite it not having all-wheel drive, you can still throw this car into corners at simply stupid speeds. And it just keeps gripping and gripping and gripping. Understeer? Well, you need to push this car very hard to get any kind of understeer, because it just keeps gripping. I'm pretty sure these tyres have got Gorilla Glue in them, because I don't mean to use cliches, but this car really does feel like it's on rails when you go around corners. The brakes are fantastic. The Type R, as standard, has got brakes supplied by Brembo, and they've got a very good stopping power, which is just as well, because it is very easy to pick up a fair amount of pace in this car. They do squeal when you come to a stop at traffic lights or at a junction, but in all honesty, I couldn't care less. This car may look like it has come out of a comic book, and I tell you what, it really does make you feel like a superhero, because the way how this car tackles corners, it defies physics. This should not be possible in a front-wheel drive car. It simply shouldn't, yet it is. Yes, this car really does make you feel like some kind of driving superhero. Maybe I should start wearing my underpants on the outside. Nah. But yes, the diff, the brakes, the chassis, the tyres, all of those elements combined mean that you can simply defy physics in the corners. I'm pretty sure I can feel the tarmac bending underneath me as the Type R just sticks to it. And simply does the unthinkable. The grip is face-bending, it's confidence-inspiring, it's bloody impressive. Now sadly, one thing you can't do is to cherry-pick which driving mode you want and which you don't. And what I mean by that is, let's say for example, you want to have the dampers in comfort, the steering in sport, and the engine in plus R mode. Well, I'm afraid you can't. So there's no individual setting for the driving modes, which may put some buyers off. Would it put me off? No, it honestly wouldn't. The 6-speed manual gearbox deserves a special bit of praise because it is simply fantastic. It's slick, snappy, short. What other words can I use? Mechanical. And the throw is simply precise. This has to be one of the best, if not the best, manual gearbox you can find in a hot hatchback on the new car market right now. Now, this car doesn't have launch control, but it does have a rev matching function, which is applicable when you have the car in plus R mode. I have it turned off because I prefer to do it myself. I prefer to do it the old school method. But if you want to have the rev matching function on, you can do so, and it works very well indeed. Now, what about torque steer? Surely all that power going through the front wheels means that the steering wheel wants to rip itself out of my hands. Well, no. The torque steer is very, very good indeed. Now, you can feel the diff pulling in the corners, and sometimes you can feel the steering wheel squirm ever so slightly when you're cornering hard, but for the most part, when you accelerate hard, the steering wheel will pretty much stay where it is.
At this point you may think I have nothing bad to say about the car and that I've been paid off by Honda, so let me put the brakes on proceedings and walk you through what isn't so fantastic about the Honda Civic Type R.
Let me start with the infotainment system. I'm sorry Honda, but it is Now, I have moaned about this in other videos, so I don't want to sound like a broken record. What I will say though is thankfully you can bypass all of this nonsense using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Yes! Thank the heavens, yes! The buttons on the steering wheel feel cheap, they feel rather nasty. It's almost as if they've come off a child's toy and not a very expensive one. Yes, that is not the sound of quality. Then you've got the back seats, which are only good for 2 people. Even though you've got space for 3 people back here, and you do have a seat in the middle, there's no seat belt. So this car is strictly a 4-seater. Why, Honda? Why do that? You can sit some. Look, I'm living proof you can sit someone in the middle. Look, hello, here I am. Where's my seat belt? Give me a seat belt. Where's my seat belt? Come on, Honda. What are you doing? And finally, you have the exhaust pipes. Yes, they have been designed in a clever manner in which they give less drone on the motorway, but the noise they make isn't really inspirational. In fact, it's about as inspirational as a Brexit speech by Theresa May. Compared to the i30N and the Focus RS, the Civic Type R is behind. Well, on exhaust note anyway. Oh, and one more thing, I don't particularly care for the electric parking brake. I'd much rather have a proper handbrake, thank you very much.
What about the practical stuff? Well, this is a hatchback after all. There's a good amount of cubby holes in here, although you only get one cup holder in the middle, which may annoy some. Getting a good driving position is easy though, as there is plenty of adjustment, and as I mentioned earlier, the seating position is nice and low, perfect for a car like this. In the rear of the car it's a mixed bag, as the headroom is tight for taller passengers thanks to the rake and roofline, but legroom isn't too bad, although knee room may be a little bit tight for some. On the plus side, the 2 occupants will have plenty of space to spread out thanks to the omission of the middle seat. The boot is an area where the Civic does well though, as it offers a very impressive 420 litres worth of space, which is more than some small SUVs. Okay, so there is quite a step into the boot, but the size of it should make up for it. If more space is required, you can of course fold down the rear seats to give you a total of 786 litres. Talking of the practical stuff, what does the Type R cost? At this point you may be wondering what this slab of Japanese magnificence will cost you, so let me give you a rundown of prices. There are two trim levels available, Type R and Type R GT. I've got the latter, but I'll get onto that in due course. The Type R starts from £31,550, offering features such as 20-inch alloys, LED headlights, automatic lights and wipers, 7-inch Honda connected infotainment system, DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone connectivity, reversing camera and a good host of safety systems as well.
The model I have is the GT, which is priced from £33,525. This adds LED front fog lights, wireless phone charging, dual zone climate control, front and rear parking sensors, keyless entry, red detailing to the outside, auto dimming rear view mirror, navigation, premium sound system, rear cross traffic alert and blind spot monitoring. The car you see here though is just above £34,000 because this has got the optional Sonic Grey Pearl paintwork.
And lastly, I just want to touch upon fuel economy. Yes, I know it's not overly important in a car like this, but some of you may be interested. On a combined run, Honda states that the Civic Type R can offer up to 33.2 mpg, and in my experience, I was getting around 30, but I could have got more if I'd driven the car more carefully. But where's the fun in that? Now, obviously, if you drive the car harder, that figure will fall quite significantly. In regards to CO2, this car emits 178 grams per kilometre.
So there we have it, the Honda Civic Type R FK8. Proof that you don't need a fancy all-wheel drive system to produce a hot hatchback that can simply batter corners. Yes, I know the exterior styling won't be for everybody, but if you are looking for a hot hatchback, please look past the exterior styling, because if you do, and you do buy this car, you will have what I believe is the best hot hatch money can buy right now. Honda, if you're watching, can I keep it? Oh, come on, please. Come on, you can't say no to this face. Please. Oh, okay, it's worth a try. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. A big thank you to Chris, aka Pocket Rockets, fellow car YouTuber, for assisting me with filming this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do give it a big thumbs up. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click that bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. And if you aren't subscribed, guys, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe for more car obsession.